Hello everyone, hope you and your family are safe. Children, we give good food to our body. In the same way, give good thoughts to your mind as your thoughts become your action. Now it's time for us to stay connected for the next half an hour. Children, I was extremely happy when most of you have completed a work in time and you have submitted, and this is how we have to move forward. Never mind about others. Write your work, don't copy from others. Why I should say this is that the whole world is within the bracket of thumbs up and thumbs down. Don't mind about it, move ahead very courageously. I knew you have read the lesson 3 Years of Empowerment, a speech by Kristen Latter, which is a key to open a space of achievement of women in the community. Children, before moving on to the lesson, let us watch and listen to a video of Priyanka Chopra.
Good afternoon, and thank you, and wow, I am so privileged and so honored to be sharing this afternoon with all of you and these incredibly amazing women that are being honored today. I'd like to extend my congratulations to each one of you, Octavia, Michelle, Kelly, Patty, and all 50 women that have been included in the Impact Report. Your achievements not just inspire me, but also so many others to work harder, to be better, and to make a dent wherever we can. So I'm very, very proud to be standing alongside of you. So in life, you know, there are moments when you stop and ask yourself, how did I get here? Like, why am I standing here? Well, this is definitely one of those moments for me. And I find myself going back to the beginning, back to my roots. I was born to incredible parents, amazing parents who served as doctors in the Indian Army. I was the firstborn, and as far back as I can remember, I made my parents very proud and happy 99% of the time. Okay, slight exaggerations of personal achievements are allowed from time to time, don't you think? My brother was born a few years later, and even then, nothing changed for me. We were both given equal opportunities, and I want to emphasize this. I want to really emphasize this for you because I don't think a lot of people might understand that being equal might seem very normal. But where I come from, India, and a lot of developing countries around the world, more often than not, this is an exception. It's actually a privilege. My first experience of the glaring disparity between boys and girls came at a very, very young age. I grew up in a middle-class family with extremely philanthropic parents who constantly reminded me and my brother how lucky we were and how giving back to those who were less fortunate was not a choice. It was a way of life. Simple. I was 7 or 8 years old when my parents started taking me on these visits in a traveling clinic to developing communities around and villages around the city that we lived in called Bareilly. We were packed into this ambulance, and my parents would provide free medical care to people who couldn't afford it. My job at the age of 8 was assistant pharmacist. So I would count all the medicines, put them in an envelope, and give it out to patients, and I really took my job very seriously, very seriously. But the more I went on these expeditions, the more I began to notice the simplest things that distinguished a boy from a girl, or a man from a woman. For example, girls were pulled out of school when they hit puberty because they were considered ready for marriage and babies. That's 12 and 13, while boys still enjoyed their childhood. Or basic human rights, such as healthcare, were denied just because they were women. Let's call this whole experience trigger number 1 for me. Fast forward a few years and many, many triggers in between. Like a producer-director, for example, early on in my career, I must have been about 18 or 19, telling me that if I didn't agree to the ridiculous terms or painfully low salary in his movie, that he would just replace me. Because girls are replaceable in the entertainment business. That was a memorable one. Made me decide to make myself irreplaceable. But I think what really moved the needle for me and ultimately led me to create the Priyanka Chopra Foundation for Health and Education and around the same time partner with UNICEF was an encounter with my housekeeper's daughter. About 12 years ago, I came home from set early one day, and she was sitting in my library reading a book. And she must have been 8 or 9 years old, and I knew she loved reading. So I asked her, I was like, it's a weekday, why aren't you in school? And she said, oh, I don't go to school anymore. So I went and asked her mother, and I said, why isn't she in school? And her mom said that her family couldn't afford to send her and her brothers to school, so they chose the boys. The reason: she would eventually get married, and it would be a waste of money. I was completely blown, and it shook me to my core. Eventually, I decided to cover the cost of her education so that she could continue to learn, because education is a basic human right. And a huge necessity, especially today. From that point on, I was determined to make a difference in as many children's lives as I could, in whatever big or small way that I could contribute. There's a really, really beautiful quote that I read recently, and I think it's absolutely appropriate to explain what I'm trying to say today. The hand that rocks the cradle, the procreator, the mother of tomorrow, a woman shapes the destiny of civilization. Such is the tragic irony of fate that a beautiful creation such as a girl child is today one of the gravest concerns facing humanity. Girls have the power to change the world. It is a fact, and yet today, girls are more likely than boys never to set foot in a classroom, despite of all the efforts and progress made over the last 2 decades. I'm just going to give you a stat, more than 15 million girls of primary school age will never learn how to read or write, compared to 10 million boys. Primary school, it's the beginning of our future. Over the last 11 years, I have witnessed firsthand the incredible work that UNICEF does for children around the world, especially victims and survivors of child marriage, displacement, war, sexual violence. But there is still so much work to do. And for me, that is the fuel to my fire. The reason I'm so committed to this cause, and that is where my passion stems from, because I know that a girl's education not just empowers families, but communities and economies. A result of her education, we all do better. It's just as simple as that. As entertainers and influencers sitting in this room, I feel that it's our social responsibility to be a voice for the voiceless, which is why I applaud each and every woman in this room for being such a badass. For using your platform and your voice to contribute to change, and for ensuring that there is not even one lost generation as long as we are alive. I'd like to thank Variety and all of you for encouraging me and all of us in this room to keep going and fighting on. Thank you so much.
Children, did you see to it? Did you listen? What did you feel about it? It was so simple that she expresses a thought for the welfare of women or welfare of girl child in the society. Yes, it's true. Women have to swim against the current. She has to speak louder to get herself heard in the society. Switch on to the media. You can see plenty of news where women are subjected to violence in and out of the home. Definitely we have to hang our head in shame. Children, it is a time or era of transition. Why shouldn't we think about implementing women empowerment too in this spirit? Why shouldn't we start realizing the importance of a girl child in the universe? Yes, now I would like to quote a wording saying that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Yes, to empower her, what are the components to be included? Yes, let us have a peek to the lesson. Let's take the textbook, open to page 9. Ready? Okay. So shall from the introduction? Fine. May I start reading? Are you ready with me? With the page 9? Okay. Emancipation and empowerment of women is of prime importance in every society. Emancipation. Is this a new word for you? Might be. What is the meaning of emancipation? It's a state of being free from the power of anyone else. It is like setting free from slavery. Okay. In our country, we have achieved partial success, but we still have a long way to go. What should we do to achieve this goal? Here's a speech on the requisites of women empowerment. Shall we start? Fine. The 3 girls of the empowerment, the speech by Christine Leggett, as it was said earlier. Now the speech begins. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Addressing. It's great to be among friends and kindred spirits. Is this a new word? Kindred spirits? Yes, it is an idiomatic phrase where it means a group of people, might be an individual, where this group of people have the same interest, opinion, feelings, emotions like you. It is great to be among friends and kindred spirits. The 21st century poses many challenges that require new ways of thinking, not more important than the economic role of women in the rapidly changing world. But women today remain blocked from contributing their true potential. This is the problem. They could never open up or explore or expose their talents, showcase their talents to this world. The problem lies here. This is what to be checked. This has a huge cost. In some countries, per capita income lags significantly because women are denied equal opportunity. This is what you have to underline. Denied equal opportunity. They represent half the world's population but contribute far less than 50% of economic activity. See to it. What is needed to change this picture is a concerted effort to open the door to opportunity with what I call 3 L's of women empowerment: learning, labor, and leadership. Who is this I here? Yes, you are right. Christian Levin. So shall we begin with the first L? What may be the first L? Can recollect and tell it is L, learning. First about learning. Education is the foundation upon which any change is built. Foundation? What is foundation? Foundation? You might have come across this word in construction building areas. Foundation is so important for a building, such as education is important for a home. Learning helps women to help themselves and break the shackles of exclusion. See how learning helps them. It should be turned as a global priority. Educating a woman, it should be a blessing and not a threat. Why? It should break the shackles of exclusion. Shackles, chains, restrictions, hindrance, barriers that restrain herself from showing herself to the world. Nowhere is this more essential than in the developing world. What about India? India is still developing. There is an African adage that goes, adage, saying or proverb. If you educate a boy, you train a man. If you educate a girl, you train a village. You agree with me? Might be slightly difficult to be accepted, definitely it is a harsh reality, harsh truth where we have to agree with this and find what to be done next. So first L is over. What is the first L? Learning. Education is so important because it can only elevate the life of a woman. Not only woman, anybody else in the world. So now comes the second L, labor. It is interlinked, it is connected. Only when learning is there, you can get a labor. Only when you are qualified, you can get a job. So the second L is labor. Labor facilitates women to flourish and achieve their true potential. You have to agree with this speech because it can flourish and they can achieve their true potential. But at present, when women participate in the workforce where she is getting employed, what happens to her is that they too often tend to get stuck in low paying, low status and low security jobs. That too happens, that too prevails right now. Globally, women earn only 3/4 as much as men, even with the same level of education and in the same occupation. Doesn't it sound painful? Yes. Surely, one of the most basic norms should be equal pay for equal work. We have to definitely stick on to the slogan. If you are ready to stand for women, you will have to speak for this equal pay for equal work. Recent researchers show that eliminating gender gaps in economic participation can bring an increase in per capita income. We can undoubtedly promote more opportunity for women in the workplace. It is all about changing laws. For example, by ensuring that property and inheritance laws do not discriminate against women. Are you with me? Yes, shall we move on to the next page? It also means policies that encourage education and health care. Moreover, we need to provide greater access to credit so that women can achieve greater economic independence. So, learning and labor are key factors. What happens when you get a good job? You definitely get an economic independence. So this economic inequality should be bridged, as it is said in the speech. And greater access to credit. Trust women in the society. Access, it is giving appropriate value, getting her the money, and getting her involved in business according to her passion, according to her taste. Let her explore herself and definitely it is going to bring something beneficial to the world. So now 2 L's are over. Now comes the third L, that is leadership. Is this world ready to accept the leadership of a woman? As I have said in this introduction, she has to swim against the strong currents. Even then it is very difficult. So let us see what is said in the speech. The third L is leadership that enables women to rise and fulfill their innate abilities and talents. Once when you have learning, once when you have labor, definitely this world will stand up to recognize you and accept what you see. They'll come with open arms to accept you as a leader. So why should we deny that? Yes, the irony is that when women lead, they tend to do as good a job as others, if not better job. They are more likely to make decisions based on consensus building, inclusion, compassion, and with a focus on long-term sustainability. That is what's special about women. They only think about long-term sustainability because they are the producers of this society. They are the lamb of this society. So what are the things? It is like consensus building. What is it? You mingle with a big group and without any conflict, you come with a resolution, you agree with everybody else and move forward. And inclusion is regardless of their abilities and disabilities, you try to accept the points what they share. You have compassion, being a woman, proud to say that we are compassionate with everybody else whom we come across. And thus we focus on the long-term sustainability. It is true that women sometimes lack confidence to match their competence. True, we have to agree. For years together, for decades together, we have been suppressed saying that you are a woman, so you have to be within the four walls. Saying this, we have been crumbled in the hands of somebody else, as I said earlier. So here, we lack confidence. But they need to change the mindset. Unless women think about changing themselves, nobody else can change. That is what the final thing. But they need to change that mindset and reset the narrative in their favor. So, it is essential that women be ready to dare the differences. Call for women. Are you ready to dare the difference? Daring. Do you have the courage to face the changes? If you want to come up in life, you should come out. Break all the shells. Come out and say you are the best. So it is essential that women be ready to dare the difference, to take the risk and step outside their comfort zones. Quite natural. Nonetheless, even those with the drive to succeed continue to face barriers. Whether we are talking about providing primary education for girls in a village or executive positions for women in business. This is what the condition for women. The speech ends up by giving a call saying, "It is time to create a world where all women can meet their potential without impediment or prejudice, and the world will reap the benefits." Why is she insisting in this? World will reap the benefits. Men and women are the bands of a balance. Definitely we will have to be supportive. It should be balanced. So, the 3 L's will help us get there. Final line is this. If we dare the difference will deliver. See the beauty of sentence. If you dare the difference, if you are ready to take the risk in your life, that risk that you have approached or you have overcome or you have taken will definitely give you a result in any norms. Might be a monetary benefit or might be a reputation or recognition in the society. You turn to be a leader. Why shouldn't you try that? So for that it should be like you have to step outside, out of the cozy comfort zones. So now the speech is over. What are you going to do right now? Being my children, let me ask you. Are you ready to raise and join your voice for the upliftment or to recognize a woman or a girl child in the society? Are you ready? Yes, it should happen. We should not rest until this difference or this gender inequality is eradicated. That is my request, personal request to you. And why do I say this or why do I insist this is that It should not be the underqualified or underprepared male leap forward. And overprepared and overqualified woman still stay in the shadows, doubting her ability. It should not happen. So for the sake of the women, for the sake of the development of the world, let us all raise and join our, raising is also not enough. Raise and join your voice to stand and to bring back goods. Okay? Am I correct? Do you agree with what I have said? If so, thanks a lot. And then, shall we see to the work or assignment for the next class? I hope you would have understood what I have shared. It was just a share, give and take. You would have listened to me, what I have said. And now we have few questions at the page 11. It is about women should step outside their comfort zone. Discuss. Second one, women sometimes lack confidence to match their competence. Comment on the statement. And the third one, how can we build self-confidence in women? Do you have answers of your own? Definitely you have to share with me completing the answers. And one more task, let me give you. To the next page, page number 12, you have a topic. The thing is, prepare the script of a persuasive speech on the topic Education is the key to women empowerment, to be delivered at the school assembly on International Women's Day. You know when International Women's Day for? You're right, March 8th. So what is persuasive speeches? You should try to convince the audience. That is what persuasive speech is. So I have given you 2 tasks, 3 questions in think and write. And the next one is writing a speech on women empowerment. Okay? Are you all happy? Until I see you back again.